This episode is brought to you by the Financial Technology Report, a leading information source on financial technology companies and solutions. Today, we speak with Jean-Louis Warnholz, co-founder and CEO of Future, a fintech building the most rewarding way to pay in the sustainable economy, incentivizing consumers to make climate-friendly purchases and support the shift toward a low-carbon future. Jean-Louis is a seasoned entrepreneur who has launched companies across Africa in housing, healthcare, and logistics, and advised the public sector and global financial institutions on economic development and policy. Since his launch, Future has introduced the award-winning FutureCard Visa Debit Card, offering 5% cashback at 50,000 businesses across the U.S., while helping consumers lower both costs and their carbon footprint. I'm your host, RJ Lumba. We hope you enjoy the show. If you like the episode, click to follow.
RJ Lumba is the executive chairman of Market Insight Media and the managing partner of GrowthCap. He is the host of Great Entrepreneurs, a podcast for driven entrepreneurs and business owners. Our podcast covers all topics related to the entrepreneurial journey, from ideation to execution to optimization and to reaping the rewards of a well-run business. In the minutes ahead, we'll share with you unique insights and tactics from some of today's most accomplished and inspiring entrepreneurs.
Jean-Louis, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. It's a delight to be with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
You have a very interesting background, and we're going to spend most of this conversation talking about Future, which is a novel payments product that benefits the environment, and you've done it in a very clever way. But your background starts all the way in high school when you started a social movement. Maybe we start there.
Yeah, it's actually now really, really close to heart. So when I grew up in a small town in northern Germany, we kind of saw the war happen in Bosnia and then in the Kosovo. And I was just a young kid, right? I was 14 at the time. And you see the images on TV and you want to do something. And so we decided to convince all of our fellow students to drop out of school for a day, get a job at a big company or local bakery or, mow the neighbor's lawn and donate their hard-earned salaries, which allowed us to build schools and kindergartens and play a small part in the reconstruction of what was a very tragic conflict right at our doorstep.
Mm-hmm. And economic development has been something you focused on, I think, throughout your career. You even served as an advisor to Hillary Clinton. Tell us about your whole background leading up to founding Future.
Yeah, so I was always kind of obsessed with how economics works, how markets work, right? How resources get distributed to ultimately make everyone better off, right? I think this was always something that I was deeply obsessed with because as a young kid, I did have opportunity to travel to areas that were devastated by a terrible war. And when the tanks stopped rolling, the question was, okay, well, what now, right? Like, how do young folks get jobs and opportunities and find ways to make a living? And so very early on, I just became obsessed with understanding how markets allocate resources and ultimately lead to either better outcomes or worse outcomes for communities. So that became, a passion, or you might say an obsession. And it's something that really kind of carried me all the way through the work I was able to do in emerging markets across East and West Africa to kind of build new companies that focus on essential needs like housing and healthcare and food and logistics. And ultimately took me all the way to Future and what we're building today.
And so what was the original idea for Future? Was it the business model that exists today, or was there an original concept that you then iterated on?
Look, we're a startup and obviously there are lots of opportunities for pivots. But for me, I think it was always the recognition that in the end of the day, there's opportunity all across the country to make smart choices with their money and spend in a way that ultimately is good for the future, is allows them to just keep more money in their pocket. And that also has massive impacts on the climate and the future of the planet at large. I never bought into the notion that the way we tackle climate change is to buy more expensive jackets and pay more, but it's really to think about our daily spending and figure out, okay, well, where are opportunities for me as a family to save some money and do that in a way that also helps my own financial sustainability, but also helps the sustainability of the planet.
Mm-hmm. And you do it in a clever way with Cashback, and it's a
Thank
pretty
you.
meaningful cashback. It's 5%. So maybe for the benefit of our audience, if you could explain like which types of spending that the consumer would receive that cashback for.
Yeah, so the FutureCard is hands down the most rewarding debit card that you can have in your wallet or on your phone. And we give you 5% cashback for a lot of everyday items, right? Whether it's getting around town, taking the subway or the metro, whether it's paying your energy bills, which have become, expensive for many folks, or it's paying your groceries, right? You have a whole host of categories that fall into this 5% cashback for everyday expenses. And then we also give you 1% cashback on everything else. And so overall, I think it has turned into a really rewarding value proposition for our members. And I'm obsessed with rewards. I like rewards. I just cannot help myself. And I really wanted to create an opportunity for more and more folks to benefit from cashback.
And on the, I guess, the flip side, the way it helps the environment or the social impact, that's because you're helping to increase the volume of sales at these merchants?
Yeah, and we really think about those. We really kind of think about transitions that you can make. So let me kind of talk about my own family for a moment. I now take the train much more often. The car stays in the garage. I have this ridiculous little scooter that, my kids always make fun of me when I ride it around the neighborhood that I bought at Black Market, which is one of our partners secondhand. And the beauty is that I'm saving a ton of cash doing it. I get the cash back with Future, but it also means that, I'm actually getting around town in a way that's much more sustainable and much more green while having a ton of fun doing it. And so it's kind of finding the intersection where you can really have it all. You have more money in your pocket. You're doing something that kind of helps our collective future, but it's also fun and enjoyable and just overall better. And I think that's what we've been focusing on. Same is true with the community solar subscription, right? That saved us $300-$400 now every year. It's just net savings, more money in our pocket. But it also means that somewhere not too far from our house, there's a solar farm that is actively kind of pushing green energy into the grid. And they are now kind of taking a chunk of our electric bill, and the electricity is generated by that solar farm. So lots and lots of opportunities like these that are just smarter spending choices, many of which I had no idea about before I started this. Mm-hmm. And so we're just trying to take this to more and more homes across the country to kind of figure out, okay, maybe there are choices that ultimately make us better off. And I think that resonates with folks because we don't like to give things up.
Mm-hmm. And who's the target demographic? Is it really anyone who wants to start slightly altering the way their daily life works and choose more environmentally friendly, socially friendly options? How do you market this product?
Yeah, so it really kind of focused first and foremost around getting more rewards and putting more money into your pocket, which is a very universal theme. And I think that's also meant why Future was able to attract a membership that is really diverse and multifaceted, because when you ride the subway, you like your weekly $5 bonus that Future gets you if you are a frequent rider, right? And that is true irrespective of where your subway ride might start in the morning. So it's really been very, very broad-based in terms of the audience that we've been able to attract, because I think having a little bit more cash in your pocket is a pretty universal thing, whether you have a lot of it or you don't have a lot of it. And I think that's the beauty of it.
Got it. So in a way, you're competing with, say, some of these bigger credit card companies that are innovating or iterating on the actual benefits of their credit card.
Yeah. And here's the thing. So I'm always surprised that it's a little known fact, although the data is out there, of course. 64% of payments in the US happen on a debit card. And over 50% of those happen on a Chase card or a Bank of America card or a Wells Fargo card. And they tend to give you very limited rewards, right? There's no significant API most of the time. And the kind of cashback rewards that you receive are also quite limited. And so Future's coming along and said, well, let's change the game and actually let's make a debit card really, really rewarding. You don't need to get the flashy, expensive credit card that requires a 720 credit score. You can have a debit card that's broadly accessible, that doesn't have any monthly fees, and you can have massive cashback just like you would get when you have some of those kind of flashier credit cards.
Mm-hmm. And I guess the question would be, why wouldn't just a regular debit card issuer be able to do this? Why would they have to work through Future?
So conceivably, a large bank could decide, okay, now we're going to give 5% cashback to everybody. And I think that really comes to our business model. I think the business model leverages the fact that by having your attention and by being in your wallet, we also have opportunity to introduce smart choices to you that help your budget and save you money every day. And that ultimately for us also is a source of revenue. If you traditionally look at how even large fintechs, but also card programs operate, it's still very much focused on interchange fees, the kind of swipe fees that you pay with every purchase. And Future is looking to create a different business model that ultimately allows us to put more and more money into your pocket. And that's working so far. And we're really excited now to scale this all the way.
Excellent. Last two questions. One is, can you tell us about a person who has had a profound influence on you?
So my most regular kind of sparring partner is my wife, just because we come from very, very different backgrounds. So she would frequently tell me, look, don't do that, in a way that's deep and honest and refreshing and well reflected. And so I think our journey together, I think, has had a profound impact in shaping my outlook, but also ultimately in kind of shaping how Future shows up in the market every day. And obviously there were many others that I've had the good fortune of spending time with over the years that have had a profound impact, and, business models that I think really resonate.
Excellent. My standard closing question is a charity, cause, or other endeavor that you're passionate about, but it seems like your business in itself is a cause. Maybe anything to expand on, or you can mention another area of interest of yours.
Yeah, so obviously kind of figuring out how do we get into a trajectory where our spending is sustainable in a way that folks have more money in their pocket for their future, but we also use our resources in a way that kind of creates the best opportunity for a positive collective future for all of us. So I think that remains my passion. I still have a deep interest in what's happening across emerging markets in East and West Africa. I still think there's tremendous potential there. And so I continue following this quite closely.
Excellent. And to close, how does one get a hold of a Future debit card?
Yeah, just go to future.green and sign up. It usually now can be done in kind of 30 seconds or less. Or type in FutureCard anywhere and we are sure to pop up. And then a few minutes later, you can tap with your FutureCard and enjoy outsized rewards.
Excellent. Jean-Louis, thank you so much for taking the time. This has been a wonderful conversation.
Thanks so much for having me.